Welcome to Social Psychology. I'm your professor, Ryan Keith. And in this short video, I want to take a few minutes to talk to you a little bit about this class, about myself, and about how to be successful in this class. As you might guess, I'm a psychology professor here at Santa Fe. I also direct the honors program, and although social psychology is one of my favorite things to talk about, it hasn't always been that way. When I majored in psychology, it was largely because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I took classes because either the title sounded interesting or it was a degree requirement. Social psychology was one of these. I had to take at least 3 core psychology classes, and I'd already taken a couple of others, so I thought I might do this one. I assumed, like you might, that it has something to do with social interaction, that it would be about how to get along with other people or romantic relationships, the sorts of things that I think everybody could always use a little bit of help learning more about and knowing how to do effectively. But I was surprised to learn that social psychology is actually an entirely different subject. The social comes into play, but not in the way that you would expect. What it's really about is what makes us human. You see, if we look at other animals, like fish or birds, for example, we see that they are perfectly adapted to their environments, and this is part of what makes them survivors. Fish are shaped by the water around them, by the currents they swim through, and physically shaped to the point where their physical form is hydrodynamically designed so they slip through the water effortlessly. And yet there's that classic quote that a fish would be the last creature on Earth to ever notice the water. Similarly, birds fly through the air with adaptations, everything from their feathers to hollow bones and the way their lungs work to make them perfectly adapted for flight. And yet, if they're going to be successful at it, they need to be so good at flying that they never notice the air they're flying through, adapting to it without a thought, because all that thought and effort, it takes too much time and energy. In this way, what social psychology is really about is how we effortlessly and without any thought adapt to the social environments in which we find ourselves. Positioned at the crux of what we call the person-situation debate, social psychology argues that people aren't inherent people or that they're even necessarily kinds of people, but instead that we are shaped by the situations in which we find ourselves. Of course, shaped by our upbringing and our backgrounds and our history and our cultures, but also those moment-to-moment settings, that you're an entirely different person when you're at home with your friends or your family as opposed to when you're at work or when you're at school. And I find it fascinating how we find the nearly invisible forces that shape everything we do, think, feel, and say. And I'm really excited this semester to get to explore that stuff with you guys. We're going to have a fantastic time. The other thing I wanted to talk about was how to be successful in this class, which is really about how to be successful in every class. And like I said, social psychology is particularly well positioned to help us explore that stuff. And that's one of the big things we will talk about this semester. I think it's really important that everything we do here is relevant to you and relevant to your existence. And it's one of the fantastic things about psychology as a discipline. So when we look at what it is that makes students successful, the number one thing is spending your time and spending your time well. Santa Fe College expects that for every credit hour you're signed up for, you're going to invest somewhere between 3 and 4 hours a week on that class. So with this being a 3-credit class, we can expect that you'll spend somewhere between 9 and 12 hours a week on this class. But we also know that the way the human brain works is that it doesn't process information the same way if you spread it out versus the cramming it all in at the same time. You probably learned in general psychology or AP psychology about that idea of distributive rehearsal, that if you revisit information on a regular basis, you remember it better. And that's where one of my big pieces of advice for this class is to spend a little bit of time every single day on this class. You'll spend less time reminding yourself where you were and getting yourself spun up to be successful, and you'll spend more time just getting into it, learning what you need to learn, applying what you need to apply, and then moving on. This is also helpful because in addition to readings and quizzes, we're also going to have some stuff this semester that you need to work on over the course of a few weeks. And that gets really hard to do if you don't get started on it right away. A lot of times, due to a number of factors, we tend not to focus on when we should get started on a project. We tend to focus more on when that thing is due. Part of that's my fault, that I might tell you when an assignment is due, but I don't give you a start date for that project. We're going to try to tackle things differently this semester so that you know when to get started and don't find yourself in that situation where you actually do want to get going, but at that point you don't have enough time to be successful. So getting started early, working on a regular basis is really key. In addition to that, this is the second thing that is really important, is to stay connected. Staying connected with me, with this class, with your peers, and with Santa Fe Resources will help make sure that you're successful. If I know where you are and where your strengths are and where you're struggling, I can help provide support. Your peers can do the same, whether you're formally working in groups, if you have a study group, or you just have somebody you want to catch up with after class to make sure you understood what we talked about, or you want to get notes from a class that maybe you missed. Staying connected is really key. It helps keep you from getting that isolating feeling where you feel like you're struggling all alone, and it makes it easier to stay on top of things. If you're somebody, though, like me, who maybe struggles with staying connected sometimes, feel free to reach out. Just talk to me, and we can always talk about how to stay connected. The third thing, and this is really important for a class like this too, any class in general, my rule is be cool. And what that really means is to try to be aware and sensitive to the perspectives of other people. We talk about a lot of sensitive ideas in this class, ideas around identity and interaction. We may talk about things like crime and punishment and politics to an extent. We even tie in with adult themes like violence and sexuality. And it's important to keep in mind that not everybody has had the experience you have, and things that might feel like common sense to you aren't necessarily common sense to other people. Similarly, they may draw conclusions that feel entirely alien to you as a result of the experiences that they have had. This is one of those things that social psychology teaches us, that the conclusions we draw are based on the experiences we have. And since not everybody has the same experiences, we'll draw really different conclusions. And them having a different perspective doesn't mean that they're wrong or you're wrong, and that one of the best things we can do in situations like that where we disagree is to listen, to try to understand where other people are coming from. And if you feel like you want to share your perspective, to go ahead and do it, with tact and sensitivity, of course. Every now and then, you'll find yourself in a situation where someone's been offended. We've all been there. Maybe you've said something that somebody misinterpreted. That happens all the time. And in a situation like that, we can have a conversation and understand where that misunderstanding came from and come to learn something more about social psychology. Similarly, if somebody shares something in class or online that you find offensive, please reach out to me and let me know so that I can help mediate the situation. But again, it's a great opportunity to learn where other people are coming from, where our assumptions come from, and what that teaches us about how people work in general. So if we keep these things in mind, we're going to stay on top of a fantastic semester and have a great time learning more about ourselves, each other, and how the world works. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. And I'm going to look forward to connecting with you on the first day of class. I'm really looking forward to working together this semester and learning more about social psychology. I'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.